This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about what happens in early '89. Boy, things are going to change. Rick's brother Scott starts accompanying him to the ring for his matches, and soon after, they become a tag team. Of course, Scott had carved out his own niche. He had been in Memphis and some other places. But man, this is going to be the pairing that both are really known for, and they become superstars as a tag team. I think Scott was trained by Dr. Jerry Graham in Toledo, and boy, he's all over the place. But when he finally comes into the NWA, did you have high hopes for this pairing, or did you have any idea what we were in store for?
Well, I'd like to say I had no idea, but I kind of had an idea. I liked them. They felt right. They were real. I didn't have to use my imagination to perceive that these are the legitimate items. And I think the audience did the same thing. So I like their upside. You know, you always have to wonder how they're going to travel, how they're going to coexist.
Yeah,
with in the locker room. Sometimes those shooter guys and those tough guys can be bullies and intimidators and all that stuff, like Ole was, for example. So I thought they had a terrific upside if they got past all the other little locker room stuff and all those things that everybody's got to go through. But boy, they look legitimate. Some of those matches they had, I remember we're going to talk about it here in a moment, but those matches with Doc and Gordy were, I still think those matches hold up this very day.
Let's mention very briefly that Rick Steiner, I think, has even gone on record as saying he was pitching Dusty on bringing his brother Scott in, but Dusty sort of blew him off. I think the phrase was, I couldn't even get a minute of his time. But once he becomes a babyface, he starts pitching it to Flair and a few other guys, and eventually Scott comes in. Was Dusty just burnt out and overwhelmed with the stress and pressures of a failing promotion, and maybe in hindsight wasn't handling his business as well as he might have a few years prior?
I think so. The bloom was off the rose a little bit. He was getting burned out. You know, Dusty was not long on time management and organizational skills. And that's why JJ was there. JJ Dillon was Dusty's number 2, and JJ was highly organized, you know, and tied all the loose ends together. But I think Dusty was getting a little bit burned out, no doubt about it. Because here's the thing, he wrote some hit shows. He had a great run there, all that at times. They did really well. And then when you start writing a new chapter or a new book, whatever you want to say, and you see it shit in the bed, you could take that personally.
Right.
And well, what am I doing wrong? I'm not doing anything differently than I used to. Yes, you are. You're using the same talents and just recasting them. You know, hey, look, Dusty was very protective of the guys that he perceived that he was crucial to creating. Even though he didn't create the Four Horsemen, he kind of took credit for the Four Horsemen's elevation.
Right.
So I think he was having some success withdrawals, that things just weren't working well. And he's hearing, as much as he can get the information, he's hearing consistently that we're losing money. And you're calling the plays. Somewhere along the way, that's got to weigh on you.
Has to.
And and again, I think going back to him not crossing his incumbents on the JCP locker room was a problem. And that comes back to communication. So again, when you're the top star, one of the top stars, arguably, certainly, that Dusty was, and you're writing the screenplays, and you're doing the casting, and things aren't working, you got to reevaluate what you're doing. And maybe it was time for the Dream to step back from being a wrestler and just fully concentrate on creating better communication, more camaraderie, and reshuffling the deck. A lot of bookers are afraid to reshuffle the deck. And so, you know, I think that was an issue that Dusty had to contend with himself, and that's a personal matter. But Jimmy Crockett could have intervened and said, hey, let's do this.
Right.
Here's what I want to do. Starting today, or starting tomorrow, starting Monday, whatever, we're going to do this. And, you know, Dusty may have had some pushback because he'd like to be in total control and power. Every great star that aspires to be a booker is aspiring for power. And so he'd like to have that power, and he didn't want it to be siphoned off or diluted with a new system.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.